This is Max, a golden retriever with a heart as golden as his fur. Max wasn't just any dog. He was Ben's dog, and Ben wasn't just any human. He was Max's whole world. From the moment they met, it was as if they were meant to find each other. Max was just a clumsy, curious puppy, and Ben, barely in his teens, was a boy with a big smile and an even bigger heart. As the years passed, their bond only grew stronger. Max was there for every scraped knee, every laugh, and every late-night study session. And Ben? Ben made sure Max knew he was loved every single day. Ben always used to say, "Max isn't just a dog, he's family." And Max seemed to understand. Every wag of his tail, every lick, every nuzzle, it was his way of saying, "I'm here for you, always." They shared everything, adventures, quiet moments, and even silly traditions like their weekly walks to the ice cream truck where Ben would buy a cone just for Max. It wasn't just a friendship, it was a bond so deep, it felt unbreakable. They were more than best friends. They were each other's safe place, each other's home. Life has a way of changing in ways we never expect. One day, everything was normal. Ben and Max were inseparable, sharing laughter, love, and the simple joys of life. But then, the unthinkable happened. Ben was gone. It happened so suddenly. One moment he was there, vibrant and full of life, and the next, the world felt emptier without him. For those who loved Ben, the pain was unbearable. But for Max, it was something else entirely, something deeper. Max didn't understand why Ben wasn't coming home. He would sit by the door, his ears perked up at the sound of footsteps, his tail wagging in anticipation. But it was never Ben. Days turned into weeks, and still, Max waited. His favorite spot became Ben's bed, where he would lie for hours, his eyes fixed on the door, as if he was willing his best friend to return. It wasn't just the silence in the house that hurt. It was the absence of the one person who had always been there. Max stopped playing fetch, stopped chasing squirrels in the yard. Even the ice cream truck couldn't get him excited anymore. It was as if a part of him had vanished with Ben. Everyone could see it. Max's eyes, once filled with joy, now looked distant, searching for something, or someone, he couldn't find. He was grieving in the only way he knew how, holding on to the hope that one day, Ben would walk through the door again. But deep down, it seemed Max already knew the truth. The day of the funeral was heavy with grief. Friends, family, and loved ones gathered to say their final goodbyes to Ben, a young man who had touched so many lives. Amid the sorrow, Max was there too, his presence quiet, but deeply felt. Max walked into the room slowly, his head low, his eyes scanning the unfamiliar faces. He seemed to sense the sadness in the air, his usual wagging tail still and solemn. As the ceremony began, Max sat near Ben's photo, staring at it as if he understood the significance of the moment. When the service moved outside, Max followed, his paws patting softly across the grass. As everyone gathered around the casket, Max did something no one expected. He stepped forward, sitting down close, almost as if he wanted to be near Ben one last time. He stayed there, unmoving, his gaze fixed on the casket. It was as though he was saying his own goodbye, a silent, heart-wrenching farewell to the person who had been his world. People couldn't hold back their tears as they watched. It was a moment that reminded everyone of the depth of the bond between Max and Ben. Max didn't need words to express his grief. It was written in every movement, in every look. And then, as the ceremony concluded, Max stood up. But instead of walking back to the family, he began to move purposefully, his nose to the ground. It was as if something was guiding him, pulling him towards something unknown but important. Everyone watched in silence as Max began to move. His steps were slow at first, hesitant, but then he seemed to gain confidence, his nose to the ground. Some people exchanged glances, unsure of what he was doing. "What's he doing?" someone whispered. Max wasn't distracted. He was focused. His movements were deliberate as he navigated through the grass, his body moving with purpose. His paws made soft impressions in the earth as he walked. Then, without warning, Max stopped. He stood perfectly still, his head lowered, his nose inches from the ground. Everyone looked on, a mix of curiosity and confusion on their faces. Max began to dig. At first it was small, cautious movements. But then he became more insistent, his paws working the dirt with strength and determination. The crowd murmured, some of them stepping closer. "Is he digging at the grave?" someone asked, their voice uneasy. But Max didn't stop. His digging grew faster, more urgent, as if he were searching for something buried beneath the earth. The whispers turned to gasps as they watched. No one could understand why Max was doing this, or what he was trying to find. The dirt flew, and then Max paused, standing perfectly still again, his nose pointing at something hidden beneath the ground. His breathing was steady, his eyes locked on that spot. Everyone knew something was happening, but what could it be? The tension was thick as they waited, unsure whether this was a moment of grief or something far greater. Max stood there for what felt like an eternity, his nose pointed at the spot he had uncovered. The air was still, everyone watching, their breaths held. The whispers had stopped, replaced by the sound of the wind and the beating of hearts. Slowly, a few people began to step closer, unsure of what they were about to witness. Max's eyes were locked on the spot in the earth, his entire body tense. His paws hovered just for a moment, and then he gave one final, decisive push into the dirt. Something shifted beneath the ground. The gasps started again as the earth revealed its secret, a box, buried and weathered, but unmistakably there. It wasn't just any box. It looked like it belonged to Ben, something he might have buried or hidden long ago. Hands shook as the family reached for it. They carefully pulled it from the earth, their emotions a mix of confusion, fear, and hope. As they opened the box, the contents were revealed: an old journal, photographs, and small mementos from Ben's life. They were treasures, memories that had been buried, but now had come back to the surface. It was as if Max had led them to this moment, to this discovery. A connection, a sign, a whisper from Ben himself. The room fell quiet again, but this time it wasn't out of uncertainty. It was out of wonder, as they held the box and looked at the contents, remembering Ben and all that he meant to them. Tears came freely now, but this time they felt different. They weren't just tears of sorrow. They were tears of connection, of healing, of rediscovery. Max had done something no one could explain, led them to this piece of Ben, this memory, this unspoken moment. The discovery gave them closure, a glimpse of the past that had been buried and forgotten. And as they looked at the items, they knew this wasn't just about grief. It was about remembering, about love, and about understanding that even when someone is gone, their spirit can still guide us in the most unexpected ways. The air felt different as they stood there, holding the box. The sun seemed to shine a little brighter, and the weight of grief began to lift, replaced by a sense of peace. Max sat nearby, his eyes soft, his expression calm as though he knew exactly what this moment meant. The family gathered closer, sharing stories about Ben as they looked at the photos and memories in the box. Laughter mixed with tears as they remembered his smile, his adventures, and the joy he brought into their lives. The discovery felt like a gift, a reminder that even in absence, memories keep people alive. Max looked at the box, then up at the sky, and it was almost as if he could feel Ben with them, as though Ben had never truly left. His presence was a reminder that love isn't bound by time or space. It stays in quiet moments and small discoveries, always there. They took their time, each person reflecting, sharing, remembering. And as they stood there, they realized that grief isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering the good, cherishing the bond, and allowing the memories to heal. Max had shown them that in the most unexpected way, in the most profound moment. He wasn't just a dog. He was a symbol of loyalty, of love, and of unspoken connections. Max would continue to visit the park, chase the squirrels, and bring joy to every moment. But now, they knew his actions held so much more. A reminder that sometimes healing comes when you least expect it. The camera pans out as Max looks toward the horizon, the family smiling softly, tears still lingering, but their hearts full. Love transcends loss, and sometimes all you need is faith and a loyal friend.